Okay, so there is the stock, completely stock, not a muffler mod, nothing, completely stock Husqvarna 592 XP versus the ported by me Holzfforma G660 supplied by TriStarSupplyLLC.com. That's how fast that 592 is. That 592 is, in my opinion, the un undeniable best 90cc plus saw on the market right now. I really like the 592. It's fantastic. A lot of people, they not constantly, but I get questioned all the time. When are you going to port that 592? Possibly never. It runs fantastic, and I don't need it to do any more than what it does. I like that it's completely stock. If I want to play with something, I've got other saws that are good for that. Now, the 660 and why it didn't beat the 592. Well, it ain't as fast. Now, let me give you a little bit of backstory. If you didn't watch the videos of me building this 660, you'll know that I utilized the stock cylinder that came on that 660. So it's a Farmer Tech 660 cylinder, and I made mistakes. I never ported a 660 before and wasn't certain what they liked and everything, you know. So I have one huge mistake, and that is whenever I was cutting the chamber on it, the combustion chamber, I dragged my mandrel got stuck, and I dragged a deep ditch up towards the top in the cylinder lining, and so because of that, I left the bottom ring on. In a build like this, for speed, I tend to take the bottom ring off. The 660s have 2 rings, and I take the bottom ring off because it's just not necessary. But I needed to leave it on in this situation because of that big ditch that I cut into the cylinder up towards the top of the combustion chamber, because that top ring is not sealing at all. Once it gets to the top, it'll hit that big ditch and lose all of its pressure. The bottom ring is hopefully containing as much as it possibly can. So for next year, this year, SawFest 2024, I will port a different cylinder for this saw, and hopefully not make the same mistake. The other mistake is the 660 can't quite get to the upper echelons of RPM. Let me find real quick my numbers for it. Dun, dun, dun. Come on. There we go. So the transfers open at 125 degrees. I think that I need to either raise those to something like 118 degrees or so, because whenever you're trying to reach up and get those higher RPMs, you need more time. What I was trying to do was fill it with crankcase pressure. So my intake is at 75 degrees, and the 125 on the transfers gives me 50 degrees of crankcase pressure, which I had a lot of people telling me a lot of different things. And inevitably, every one of them think that their way is the right way. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's hard to filter through what actually is the right way. And so you just have to do it for yourself and figure it out. And what I think I will go for whenever I build the next cylinder is I need to find a way to feed the fuel at the higher RPMs. As it is, I don't think that I have enough time to get all that fuel getting in there, and plus it's a large piston, right? And we have to have time for all of that to get pushed out, all of the exhaust. And so what might work really well is finger ports on the intake side that come on about 5 degrees before the transfers come on to, so that you've got 5 extra degrees of push to get all of that exhaust gases out before you fill that combustion chamber with your new fresh charge. So anyways, this was my very first attempt at ever porting a 660, and I had 2 very costly mistakes. Now, I will actually add this to it, and a lot of you guys probably are going to be like, no way. And I understand that. I doubt things I hear all the time. Right? But I ran several of the 660 clones, lots of them, right, while I was at Sawfest. And none of them really felt any better than mine. And that includes one of the saws that has been dynoed at 10 horsepower. And I mean, it felt good, but so does mine, you know? So this saw is producing good power. I think the problem is it's not producing good RPM. With me? So anyways, and what I'll probably do with that cylinder, because it produces great power. It really does. I'll probably just give it away to somebody on the channel whenever I break that down and tear into it and stuff like that. And you can use it and be like, wow! But whenever it comes to an actual race, not so wow. It just doesn't pull enough RPMs. It's got plenty of power, runs really good. I just need more RPMs. It's simple, right? I didn't run like the top 3 660 saws. I don't think I ran the top 3. I can't remember. I know that Gary Buxton and Sean Carr, I think they were 1 and 2. I did not run either of their saws. They were blazing fast. And I don't know what they did. My guess is they got some fingers to feed it and help, just exactly what I described. You know, got to get that fuel out of there. They probably got bigger carbs on them too, because you know that's a known kind of a known downfall of the 660s is they've got a big crankcase. And so in order to fill it, you need a bigger carbon intake setup. But I don't know what they did. I'm just guessing. But theirs were on a different level of performance than everyone else's. And the third place, who got third place? Anyways, whatever. But all the rest of them, I ran several of them while I was there. Oh, I know who got third place. Mike Boudreau. Yeah, I think that's what his name is. He was running a Mastermind ported 660 clone, and with a really good chain. A really good chain. I'm not going to say any more about that, but yeah, he was running a really good chain. But I ran his, and I was like, yep, feels just like mine, you know. So, you know, it's racing, and sometimes the chips fall your way and sometimes they don't. And I will say this about that 660. It runs perfectly great. I mean, if you are the kind of person that has had a lot of 660s ported, really good running 660s in their hands and ran them, and you ran this 660, you'd be like, yeah, good job. You know, so it does run good. And the reason I'm wanting to showcase that and point it out and be overly aggressive with hey, that's a good saw, is to reflect on how good the stock 592 XP is. You know, it's just like, wow, they are so good. And that's why I have just like no desire to port it. I mean, why? It's freaking phenomenal in stock form. And I'm good. And I want, you know, if I use that saw, that's one of my like work saws that I just want it to run great and fire up. And I think leaving it in stock condition is, at least for now, the best way to go. You know, I've got, that's a work saw that's just no fuss. This is my a work saw that whenever I use it, I'm either cutting really big wood or slabbing. You know, I'll use it on my chainsaw mill. And I've got the 565 again. That's my work saw. Work saw. I don't want to mess with anything. Whenever it gets littler than that, you know, I definitely want to run ported saws, because like I don't really much want to run any stock 50cc saw like ever again. Because porting those just makes it so much better to run them. But anyways, those are two saws that I really have, the 592 and the 565. I have little to no desire to get more performance out of them, because they are what I need them to be. But anyways, yeah.